So cute. Hi, I'm Angela with the Primal Psychology Podcast, and today I'm interviewing Radhaa Nilia. Hi, Radhaa.
Hi, so wonderful to be here.
So thank you so much for being here. As you know, we talk about energy psychology on this channel, and Radhaa, we're taking a little bit of divergence from psychology into more of the spiritual realm, but I actually see it all, it's all interconnected, and psychology is dealing with our spirit. And so how we approach our healing and our relational aptitude in life and out in the world is so dependent on our spiritual journey and our spiritual awareness. And I'm personally, as the creator of a couples program that is based on an energy psychology modality as well, I'm all about like rapid healing, rapid transformation. And that's why the energy psychology and a lot of this like spiritual work that Radhaa does, for example, I think is so important because it is so fast and you don't waste as much time and energy. And so I'm really excited to share with you Radha's work that I've personally experienced for myself, the goddess activations, which we'll talk about. But first, I wanted to just read a quick bio of Radha's work, because it is very unique. And she is a 5.0 manifester, a goddess activator, and a publisher. So she's publishing books and supporting female authors on these topics of feminine empowerment and working with the divine feminine archetypes. Through her work at the Goddess Code Academy and Radhaa Publishing House, Radhaa facilitates transformative experiences for women to reclaim their sovereignty, heal past wounds, and embody their feminine essence. The goddess activation session or healing modality is what I personally experienced. But I guess I would like to start with, if Radhaa, if you could explain a little more about what it means to be a 5.0 manifester and how that fits into your work to help women transform.
Absolutely. So I didn't really study human design, but I got a reading and a 5.0 manifester basically helps to kind of activate other people's geniuses. So I'm very good at helping other people really come into the realization of their own gifts, their own abilities. And I've always been able to see that in people. Like I had a friend that I knew was meant to be a director and he was going in one direction, and I gave him a book about directing, and I don't try to influence people's life, but I just gave it to him as an inspiration. It's up to him if he'd like to pursue it. And I just kind of nurtured that and gave him a couple opportunities when I had the chance. And he really blossomed into his
Wow.
career as a director. But I do that with women a lot too. And it comes very organically because I'm just able to sort of see what people's strengths and their superpowers are. And then
Wow.
I'm really good at nurturing and activating that. And for women, a lot of times that comes through our deepest wounds can also be the deepest key codes for what we're here to share, what we're here to do. We talked earlier about sovereignty, and that's one of my one thing that's very important to me, and I think all women, is activating our sovereignty and really taking our personal power back. And so I work with women. I've worked with women for over a decade. Well, since 2012 I started goddess activations, and that was through my healing practice. And it kind of came as a download because I was actually trained in many other modalities, and my mother is a shaman. So
Yes,
yeah,
so many. I don't know anyone else who has more modalities under their belt than Radhaa, and you continue to educate yourself and advance and elevate your skills and your as a healer.
I love it. I mean, I found something that I thought was so exciting and I wanted to learn it on from every perspective and angle. I didn't want just one because I feel like there's so many ways we can approach, issues that come up, and whether that be mental, emotional, spiritual, there's many layers and levels to us actually as multidimensional beings.
Yes. And so when you're in session with women, how do you how does the goddess activation element of it intersect with this intuition that you have about someone's superpowers? How did those two things intersect in session?
I mean, it goes perfectly together because we have different divine feminine archetypes. As women, we're not just good girl, bad girl. We are so multifaceted. We have so many archetypes that we embody as feminine. But when I connected in with a woman, I could see the strongest archetype that wants to come forward. That's maybe been a little bit in the background, and so it's like that interpersonal power, or that strength, or the creativity, saroswati, like there is usually an energy that's lingering in
Oh, wow.
that
Okay.
space. And
And is that also a reflection of something of their essence, that individual?
yes, it is about
That
the essence. It could be, and
makes sense.
usually it's it's usually part of their superpower that
Mhm.
they've maybe started to tap into, but
Mm.
that stream of consciousness hasn't completely come through.
Yes, that actually makes so much sense. I'm remembering my session that I had with you years ago, and I do remember that um feeling of what you were pulling up, the goddess the particular goddess that you pulled up that came forth in our session. It did seem like that was such a part of me that had been like covered up by all the stuff that happens in life, all the traumas, and so that's just such an amazing gift that you have to see that in each individual woman and bring that forth, and let that soul more fully embrace and embody that essence of and that piece of themselves.
Yeah, it's not really about pulling things from from the sky. It's really
Yeah.
the essence that the woman holds within her. That goddess energy was already there, or wanting to be recognized, wanting to be seen, acknowledged. And I think there's something so important about having a sacred witness, because we all go through all kinds of things in this life.
Yes,
And
Pam.
yeah, and just that sacred witness and being kind of like the guide at times can be very helpful, because when we're seen and really seen in our truest essence without like the lenses of judgment, it, something happens. There's a transmission, there's a shift that happens. And of course in my day-to-day life, I'm busy, I'm doing my thing, but when I do sessions, something
Hmm.
shifts. It's almost like I leave my ego at the door, because I just come in, and actually this is where my heart gets to bloom like a rose too, because that feeling of expansion and leaving behind my judgment, my day-to-day self, it opens up this whole new vortex, and that is so powerful. And it's such a beautiful experience to be with women, and it's very intimate. And I think as women, we really crave intimacy. Like we love to lock into those deeper realms, and it's kind of challenging in this day and age to have deeper conversations, to have deeper connections. And so it's a gift for me as much as it is for the women that I work with, because I also get to lock in, and I love to witness the beauty of the divine feminine in her full spectrum without judgment.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I know you do that. It's like in a session with you, it feels like you've just crawled into my head and my heart. And so I know what that feels like for your client. And it's just really such a beautiful gift that you're giving, not just your clients on an individual basis, but the world, right? Because in society and culture, we need more feminine embodied women, and we need more masculinely, divine masculine men. And then, of course, the sacred union when they come together. And that's one of my personal missions too in my work with couples, is to bring forth the power of the sacred union. And we can't do that without healing and actualizing and being in connection with spirit and the spiritual elements of ourselves that are meant to come forth to be full, to reach our full potential. So I guess I would love to ask you too about, where does God come into this as well, the divine, or how would you describe that, and how do you connect with God as well as the goddesses and feminine archetypes?
Absolutely. Well, when I kind of like tune in, I start out with a process of being silent. So before I do a session, I actually go into contemplation and meditation for 35 to 40 minutes and just kind of detangle, and I allow that pillar of light to come through me. And I do pray that um I'm accessing the divine, that nothing else of lower vibration, the trickster energy, isn't coming through, and that this will be clean for me and for the person that I'm with. And so just the act of connecting, what I do is I just connect to source. And when I think of source consciousness, I don't think of it as being polarized, actually. I just feel the expansion of love. And so that source consciousness embodies both the masculine and the feminine. It's a yin and a yang. It's that wholeness, but it just is. But
Yeah.
when we are working with the intricacies of the humanness within us, archetypes become extremely important, because it is through our archetypes that we can identify, and then we can start to work with archetypes to start to heal core wounds. So to me, it's invaluable, because I just kind of open it up and just ask that consciousness come through, and that's something anybody can do. We can
Mhm.
do that. And I always teach people I work with that they can connect, and I teach them the pillar of light. It's protective. It's kind of like a super shield when we go out. Because you're highly sensitive, I'm highly sensitive. When I go out, I literally could feel everybody's energy and what's kind of at the forefront of their consciousness. And sometimes I just don't want to, because I'm not there to do work with them. I'm going out to eat. I'm going to
Yeah,
park.
you have to protect your own energy.
Yeah, so then the pillar of light kind of acts as that vessel. So when I go out, I activate the pillar of light and I zip up my chakras. So literally from, your crotch or whatever, I just zip it up. And then I just ask that I just have my sacred space. Um, and then I ask that the pillar of light come so that I can also bring that light wherever I go. And we should all be doing that if we want to, if we feel inspired to,
Wow.
because
Yeah.
that's something that's really important, that we start to realize how much, power we have too, and that we have to, like, I feel like I've had to go through a lot of training for divine protection, and I realize, like, it's not about fighting against evil, but it's actually about embodying the light so that it's not affecting us. So that when that energy tries to penetrate or project, or those people that don't do the shadow work want to just take all their stuff and dump it, that it's
Mhm.
actually just falling flat. It's not coming into the field, because
That is so important.
it's so important. There's a lot of people that have committed their life to not facing their shadow, not facing themselves, not wanting to take responsibility for anything. And a lot of people like that have come into my life or have tried to push themselves into my life. And I've had to learn about it, about these
Yes.
dynamics of
I've
there is.
heard that so much from healers and highly sensitive people who've developed their consciousness the way that you have. You almost you can't open yourself up that way without learning how to protect your energy field. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, because otherwise you're a vortex, and you know, dark is attracted to light. It's like a moth to a flame. And
Sure.
all so somebody asked me before, why are there people that are coming into your field that are not in the same, we talk about frequency and vibration, but sometimes, a lot of times, opposite attracts. And this world is so hungry for light. This world is starving. But here's the thing, you get to manifest and activate that within yourself. You don't actually need somebody else to activate your light. I mean, sometimes it's very helpful. Like we all, like I go to healers. I've even had sessions with you. Like we all sometimes need each other. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I like to remind everyone that sovereignty, you know, that there is a core light within you and it's your job to activate it, because that way you're not going to be starving, a starving ghost. You don't need to eat off
Yes.
somebody else's light. Like you don't have to be a vampire. You
Right.
don't have to be. It's just
Yeah.
when people cut themselves off from the source energy, they become very hungry and
Mhm.
starving, and there's nothing that could fill
Yes.
them up. And so they seek people who are in that divine union with the creator, and
Yes.
they want to ravage them. That's why so many empaths and narcissists get enmeshed and entangled.
Yes.
This is the obsession with the empaths that a lot of people who are not taking that responsibility have.
Yes. Wow. So insightful. Because, like I said at the beginning, we're looking at this through a spiritual lens, but it's the same dynamics and the same topics and issues that psychologists talk about from a purely intellectual lens.
Mhm.
The narcissist and the empath or highly sensitive person, or sometimes they'll refer to them as borderline personality or toward that end of the spectrum, because they have this specific wounding, but you're explaining the same phenomenon just through the spiritual lens. It's all the same thing that we're looking at. So it's confirming, that you can see it that way, and that at the same time we're having all these psychological thought leaders talking about the same thing, but this is maybe with working with the energy and working with the goddess archetypes like you do. In that way, we're healing at a deep enough level where we can change those dynamics faster, perhaps, than traditional psychology or conventional psychology, I should say, because really the energy work is traditional, right? Humans have done this and understood these spiritual elements for millennia.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes it's nice to have a combination. That's why doing the more spiritual work going within, it doesn't take away from anything else out that you're doing. It's
Mhm.
only enhancing it. You know, I think it's all about self-awareness, and we as humans learn from contrast. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that I'm really getting to understand, because I've been hit with a lot of contrast and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But actually, I understand also, if I really actually surrender and say, what's this about? I understand that everything is a catalyst, you know, and it's hard to admit because sometimes we get so upset about these things that happen, but at the same time, where there is the opportunity, and I can see, and I wanted to speak on something about like energy attack, spiritual warfare, that the truth is that a lot of times when empaths are getting hit with these really big energy attacks with people who can't handle their own stuff, that's actually an opportunity for empaths to activate. There's something activating, because for every polarity, there's an equal and opposite, you know, reaction. So something negative is coming here, but what happens is the field actually activates too. So the
Okay.
divine protections come into place. Like I've been through a lot of spiritual warfare myself, and the thing is, it actually activates, like my third eye is activated a lot more. It actually activates your
Sure.
gifts, and it's not something I'm wishing for anybody, but I'm
Yeah.
looking for the silver lining, because a lot of people feel like there's a lot of spiritual warfare going on, and there is something also beautiful and good about it, is You will
Yeah.
never know how powerful you are until you have to face, an army of darkness and you realize, wow, it's not taking me down, even though it may feel like it. I
Yeah.
still stand in my truth and in my integrity. And not only that, my third eye is more activated. I can feel my shield activating. Like, there are counters for everything. So just wanted to say that because I think it's really important for viewers.
Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing. And for your view, for our viewers that don't know what the pillar of light is, I think that you have an actual, do you have a resource that they can go to find that meditation?
I'm not sure. I believe I do. I usually just do it like when I do group healings, I do it so the people that work with me know about it, but I will actually do a video so everybody could have access to it because it's everybody's sovereign right to know
Mhm.
how to activate their own pillar of light and connect to that,
And that's a way that they can protect their energy.
It
Right.
completely is.
Okay.
I mean, you can do the pillar of light on your whole home. You can do it
Mm,
on your car. It's just really important that we are like keeping our energy, like the high spiritual hygiene going on at all times.
yes, spiritual hygiene. I love
Mhm.
that. That's really good. Yeah, it's similar to what I tell people with the modality that I use, emotional freedom technique, and then of course hypnosis, which most people are familiar with, but those things are deprogramming the bad programming, right? So we
Yes,
have to realize that we have programming. So people who just want to brush off all of this healing and intentionality because they don't realize, they think we don't, well, I don't need to reprogram or rewire my mind, but we do because we are being programmed and wired all the time in a sort of a chaotic way that's not necessarily the way we want to be. So we have to take control of that, right?
absolutely. And the other thing is that that programming also stems from our DNA and our genetics. So actually you can imprint a mother and then program her, and then her child will also have that programming too. I mean, so it's genetic. So our lineages, so many of us are actually doing really active deprogramming from our
Yes.
lineages. If say we came from tons of war and or poverty, like we have to, that's genetically like almost ingrained in us to feel that way. And so we get to actually break those chains. And I think that many light warriors that have come into this earth at this time are breaking those chains one by one, and it's not easy. So if you wonder why sometimes we have challenges, the things that we are breaking through, many of us, they they happen in our lives, but it's happening at the world at large as well, like these themes, these programs. So every time we sort of break that, there is something that in the matrix that's starting to break apart too. Like we're breaking up this, it's like you think of, fascia, you got to break it up, right?
Yes, yes.
Picking it up one part, and that starts to uh dissolve it on a larger scale. So it's amazing the ripple waves. And so I always say, light warriors, we always have a lot of challenges sometimes because we actually came in saying, I'm going to work through this, I'm going to work through this programming, and I'm going to take it on so that I can break it through, right?
Yes, I love that. And I also love that you've been talking about this intergenerational inherited, traumas and issues that we have to heal. And it seemed like so woo woo when you've been talking about this for years. You've had so much insight into this. And now the scientists are talking about it too. They're doing experiments that show that intergenerational trauma is real. And even like in animal studies, they'll introduce a stressor like shock associated with something, and the offspring who've never experienced the shock will react to that stimulus. So it's proving scientifically everything that you've been saying for years. And it's just so fascinating. It's just one example, right? I mean, a couple have come up already in our discussion today of how modern science, like strictly the things that are in medical journals and psychological journals have been discussed already in the energy psychology world and in the spiritual healing world for forever.
So exciting. I mean, this is a very exciting time. I mean, we're seeing a lot play out on the world stage. A lot of these multi-generational traumas are actually playing out, and we're a bit horrified, all of us, because it's a bit much. But I think if we take, one thing is we should all be advocates in our own life for our own healing, for our own clearing of our own generational traumas, and then also the things that we believe in, like, we can't take on everything, but I think if we all participate in the one thing, like, I love animals, like abused animals, like that really speaks to me, and what can we do in our life to make a difference? Because it can be overwhelming if we just want to change the whole world without starting right here at home, so when
Yeah.
we know that we're doing something that is good and making a difference, like, we know that we are having an impact. You may not see it on a big world stage, but we are doing our part. And I think a lot of people feel really out of control, like, I need to stop this whole thing. And it's like, how can we start to redirect our own lives? Where can we
Mhm.
get our power back here and now? Because we're constantly giving our power out, and then we're kind of drowning. And it's like, okay, what can I do now? Do I have children? Do I need to advocate for kids? Do I have animals? What sector can I be responsible for in my life? And how can I make a difference in my life? Because it's our little communities, that we can make the biggest difference. And I think if we all kind of take more responsibility in that helm, that's where we're going to have more personal power, and how we can team
Absolutely.
up with others that are passionate, and that's where we create community too.
I love that. And I think that people have to realize that when they are doing their own inner work, or they're working on their relationship, in the case of couples doing
Mhm.
their couples work, um, they are changing the world. That's, you're serving by healing yourself, because you can have so much influence over your family, and then your extended family and your community, once you are fully embodying your superpowers, right? And
Yes.
your essence and your purpose. And we all have a purpose, and discovering that, um and taking action, and really taking care of ourselves, instead of, like you said, letting ourselves drown. That doesn't serve anyone. So we really have to invest our time and energy and in ourselves, in our relationships. And I like to think that that's what is changing society in the direction that it desperately needs to. But that was one of my questions on my list for you, though, is how does all of this impact society? Because, like you said, society is really horrific in a lot of ways right now.
It is. It's like, it seems like a nightmare. So we have to keep reeling it back in. So, I think that's why I love the work that I do with women, because when a woman gets her personal power back, or is able to take back an archetype that she wasn't able to access before, that grows her. And it's not about being better than anybody. Oh, I'm better than you. It's about, no, I'm owning this because it's part of who I am. And now I can be of greater service. Leaders create other leaders, right? We don't want to just be like, oh, I'm the one, that's not my philosophy. My philosophy is, let's all get it together as much as we can. Every day is a new day, it's a new challenge. But what can we do now? Like, if I know that when I see women blossom, like, they're a tight button, they just blossom, I can feel their radiance. I can see how that ripples into their whole entire life. And when that energy is rippling into their life, what is it doing for everyone else around them? When more people are in their personal power, that's going to empower more people. It's not about that pyramid scheme where there's just one person, on
Right.
top. Like,
Yes, it
no,
doesn't work that way.
we need leaders, like light
Yeah.
leaders in every sector of this world. And we have to be responsible for ourselves in that way. How can I activate my inner leadership? But it's really about bringing that self-love back. So when I love myself, I don't need to destroy somebody else, right? There's no need, because if I really love myself, I don't have to crush somebody to feel better about myself. I can be like letting them bloom and I can bloom and we can create a garden of beauty. That's how we create the Garden of Eden again, right? We all have to blossom. And when there's
Mm.
like you are in a garden and there's a part of the garden that's sick, we want to nourish it. We want to encourage it to grow again, right? We
Yeah.
don't want a garden where half of it is like dying and the other half is flourishing. Like what makes it beautiful is every rose must bloom, every flower or whatever flower they are, they're going to be magnificent in their archetype. And so it's about, embodying that within ourselves and allowing and really honoring that in other people. And I think in our society, there's this fear that has been installed in women that we can't let another woman, shine in her light. And this is, I mean, this is like a societal thing because
Yes.
for me, it's personal because I had that abuse as a child from a woman who was trying to crush me.
Yes.
I couldn't even, it was hard for me to blossom into who I am. And so became a very deep pain, but I realized like, wow, I want other women to blossom because if that person had blossomed and was allowed to blossom, she wouldn't have to crush a little child.
Yes. She wouldn't have had to crush you and your light.
So I think that's like by allowing ourselves to blossom, we give others the ability to blossom as well. And I think we really have to think of it in a different way that you accentuate me and I accentuate you. It's not, there's never like ever a competition. It's
Mhm.
us all shining in our own uniqueness. Yeah.
Yes, and then I think also as you're talking about that, it feels like very nurturing, and that is part of the essence of feminine, of the divine feminine. So if we do help each other blossom, then the nurturing that flows out of us as a divine feminine is going to improve the world, everyone around us, society in the best ways. And that's why it's so powerful.
Mm. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. And I love having these conversations because it just reminds me why this is also important. The work that you do, the work I do, and that other people are doing. Because the divine masculine and feminine are very important factors in bringing balance into this earth.
Yeah.
And that's why like working with feminine and helping them remember their femininity is important because I've worked with a lot of like super high powered executives and lawyers and women who are out there, but they've discarded their femininity to the
Mhm.
point where they could not receive. And so
Yes.
part of that feminine aspect is a flower receives the sun. So it's our divine birthright. And when we balance all of that out within us, masculine and feminine, then I believe there will be a huge catalyst on this whole earth where we can feel more of the energetic balance come back into our beings, into our societies. It just ripples out into the world.
Yes, I love that. And in the case of couples, where the couples in the sacred union are just exponentially helping each other blossom, and then
Yes.
it's a culminating energy that is also so important and so powerful.
It really is. I think that dynamic too with the masculine and feminine, there's been that split, those inversions, and
Yeah.
a lot of hijacking has been going on, spiritual warfare with the masculine and feminine, where the masculine feels that, sometimes he has to bulldoze the feminine or just take from her,
Mhm.
and or the woman vice versa, could be the other way around. The woman needs to just take, but why don't we just pour into each other's cups?
Exactly. Love it.
And I think that's so beautiful. I love the work that you're doing. It's so
Thank you.
exciting. It's so
It
exciting.
is so powerful, and it's so beautiful to watch couples blossom together and elevate each other in a way that they could never do on their own. When you find the right person and you can really harness that divine masculine, feminine energy. It's magical for sure.
Beautiful.
So is there anything else before we wrap up that you wanted to share that was on your heart today? And then
Yeah,
we'll talk about where to find you, how to schedule with you and how to find your work.
absolutely. So I just wanted to share that once a year I do training as well, where I actually work with women and we go through the archetypes and really embodying each one, learning about them, learning about how we can see those archetypes within others too. So we can learn more about ourselves, about them, how to be in relatedness, and really activating our gifts in the feminine energy. And so I do training so women can become goddess activators as well. And I do personal one-to-one sessions. And I also do work with men too that feel like their inner feminine wants to come back online. So I love doing this work, and I just wanted to share that.
Yes, thank you. And so that's the Goddess Code Academy, correct? Where the practitioners are training under you?
Yes. Yeah. I got
Okay. Where is the best place for people to find that to access the training?
So what they would do is they would go to radhanilia.net, because Goddess Code Academy is getting a makeover. And
Okay.
then you can just contact me or my assistant Sam, and then he'll give you information about when our next training is and how to join and what it's all about and what you can do with it. Because I mean, I've worked with psychologists too, and they didn't want to like use it in their practice, but they wanted to use it unofficially, basically learn
Yeah.
the archetypes so that they can help women in different way, and men too. So a lot of times people that already have training in other fields just like to use this process
Or at
as
least understand it,
I
right?
understand it. So it just helps them, and it can help their clients too. So that's also another thing. Like I think a lot of psychologists and therapists and counselors they actually are looking for other modalities, but they don't officially really put that on their resume, but it is part of something that is a bigger picture. So
Yes, absolutely. Just like hypnotherapy has been integrated into mainstream therapy for a long time. And now emotional freedom technique that I specialize in is also being, integrated into mainstream counseling and EMDR, right? The eye movement desensitization and
yeah.
reprogramming that way. So all of these things are, they're real and they really do work, and they're excellent tools to have in whatever combination of modalities you choose or you choose for your clients. So it's very empowering. It's very it's very positive to think about how God gave us all these incredible tools to use, and they all, transformation and healing is so possible.
It's not only possible, it's our birthright. And I
Uh,
believe that
Thank
we
you.
can here to really do this. So I want to shout out all the earth angels doing the work, and the
Yes.
we're always here. So
Thank you so much, Radha. It's been a pleasure to connect with you as always. And thank you all for joining us. Please give us a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and find Radha's work at radhanilia.net. Did I get that right? And please give her some love over there as well. Thank you so much, Radha.
bye for now.